have this as history. That's fine. Okay, I don't care who sees it. You know,
Right.
You got, it's part of the things that you hide in plain sight.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So they're looking for it, and it's there. Okay. All right. So this is a meeting that is a continuation for the creation of FAU Sports. We're going to go over a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so that we can. For the establishment of a new sports leagues all across the world, concentrated to serve the 1.4 billion people of the African Union. So one way we're doing this is with we're teaching athletes the business of sports. Right? So that's a fundamental difference from where we are. We want them to realize that they are business people and their commodity is their sports ability.
Sure.
Okay, and that they should get paid for it, whether it's in high school or whether it's in college or whether it is semi-pro or pro, that they should get compensated for, not just the owners of the leagues, not
Right.
just the infrastructure behind it, not just the coaches. So to that end, one of the things that we have for all of our sports people is a new book that's going to come out off of this book, the Student Financial Handbook. It's sponsored by
Merrill Lynch, Wealth Management, and Bank of America.
All right. Now, what you have to understand about Bank of America and a lot of these other financial institutions is that when America's economy tanked and the world's economy tanked in 2007, the solution here in America was to pass a bill that basically said, Federal Reserve, hey, bail us out, and what we're going to do is we're going to authorize you to write $16 trillion worth of new American dollars. Right. And each of those dollars will then be able to buy debt that Federal Reserve banks would then issue. And then those Federal Reserve banks would then buy debts of other financial institutions in the Federal Reserve, who would then generate these mortgages, these loans, which then will stimulate the economy. Okay, so we first saw that in TARP, okay, the $900 billion when President Obama came in and he had the stimulus money. That's all this money. That's all the money is called quantitative easing, where our government gives permission to its agent, the Federal Reserve, which is a private sector company, right, under contract, and it says, the president says, okay, to the Treasury, hey, I want you to buy so many notes that are issued by the Federal Reserve because it's going to stimulate the economy. Right. So we know building things, building buildings, infrastructure, stimulates the economy because people are put to work. Okay, building something that can't necessarily be exported, right. Something that you can't outsource it to India and give it to China and et cetera under the normal course of things. All right, and so that's how the American economy, while it's chugging along so fast, is because President Obama did another course of investment where in 2000 through 2013, he pumped $85 billion a month into the economy. Right. $1 trillion. Yeah. Okay, so we've had basically over $6 trillion invested, but most of that money has been great for Wall Street, but it ain't reached Main Street. The difference from what I asked him in 2013, I asked him a program for not only Wall Street, but Main Street. I asked him for a program that reached back to 2005 from the people harmed by Katrina all the way up to the people harmed by Sandy. Right. Help 7 million Americans who may be homeless, may be economically injustice affected, may have environmental injustice. Help them, Mr. President. That was my call in 2013. Now, that was my call after in 2012, I got back involved in the African Union, where Africa has now stood up a new leadership, and they had said to the world, hey, we have 300 million people in the world who are a mixture of some other race and us Africans. No matter how they got there, whether they left voluntarily, whether they were enslaved, that's 300 plus million people.
Right.
On top of our 1.1 billion people for a total market of 1.4 billion people. In the United States, of the 312 million people here, minus the 12 million people here who are here illegally, okay, leaves us with 300 million people. There may be as little as 40 million and maybe as much as 55 million people of that 300 million American citizens who are African descendant. Now we know at least 40 million of them are American citizens. Now, when I say that, it used to be the rule in America that if you had 1% blood, then you were African and African American, then you were out, that you got discriminated against. Okay, people like Alexander Hamilton, who knew that his mother was African. Okay, yeah, well, it's story. I mean, the first guy killed in the Americans' first Civil War when we broke away from the king, our liege, was Crispus Attucks in Boston. He was the first man killed, was an African. War of Independence. Remember, that was our first Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay, so what my organization, Friends of the African Union, is about representing those people in allies, making allies, okay, which is how we're sitting here, okay? You as a European American, me as an African American. But I recognize that for me, my history goes back to 1848 when, when the Frenchmen, okay, took a Nubian woman and we had children on my father's line. There's 93 of us in the family, or approximately plus or minus. And so I'm going to use that example as the basis within FAU, that tracing our history back. Then I'll do the DNA. And, one of the things that FAU is doing is to create a database like the Mormons do, okay, of the DNA samples of all of the 1.4 billion people, or thereof. And we plan to take at least 1 million samples in October of this year. So it's quite an undertaking. Okay. But as you heard today from Sri Lanka, from the day that they said, the British said that, what are you going to want for your freedom? You need a constitution. They came back and said, we can have that tomorrow. Okay. All right. And, it took them a week to negotiate it, and et cetera. And like India for 3 years. Well, in the case of Africa, we've been negotiating that freedom now since 1963. Right. Okay. May 25th, 1963. The change is that now formally since July 16th, 2012, that the African Union organization that the United States recognizes as representing all of Africa's 1.1 billion people, 54 nations. By the way, Barack Obama ain't the only black president. Okay, all right. And just for everybody's sake who's watching this, there's a whole bunch of black presidents, and 3 of them are women. Okay. And so they said in July 16, 2012,
Black president of the United States.
Black president of the United States, but African American president. Remember, he's first generation African American. Right. His wife and daughters are of the legacy of slavery in America. He is not.
Yeah.
Okay, his father was Kenyan.
Mm-hmm.
His mother, had Native American in her line, but did not, as far as I know, have in her mother's line, any African in his line. So he's first generation. He's like the newcomers, first generation African American, whereas children are derived from his wife, the heritage of slavery. Okay.
Well, but the elephant in the room, saying when they were putting that out in the media, first black president, mm-hmm. no one hears that history. They just see color.
Again,
that's all it is. It's ridiculous.
This is what the president said to the world on the Universal Periodic Review.
Yeah.
He basically, and I paraphrase, look, when this country was established, I couldn't even be voter. I'm counted as 3/5 of the man. Okay, I couldn't vote. I couldn't hold land. I couldn't do this. But that was then. Now, I'm the African American who's telling you all this as president of the United States. We have a process of change. 150 years ago to this date, that we are in now, we were winding up the Second American Civil War. Okay, that was a war in which the Confederate States and the states' rightists, lost. They were defeated by a force of arms that included over 170,000 Africans. And the reason you keep hearing me saying Africans is because we didn't become Americans until 1868. Okay, we were freed from slavery in America in 1865, but we were not accepted as American citizens until 1868.
Why don't they make the terms Polish Americans and Italian Americans? They don't.
What, make that prejudicial when they talk about Black Americans?
No, I'm not saying prejudicial. I'm just saying that's just kind of weird to label somebody or label a people that. Why can't you just be Africans? Why can't my people be just Polish? Why can't?
But Polish Americans, they have their own societies. They have up in the Catholic Church their own knights and their own yada. And Italian Americans. Right. See, we have the Knights of Peter Claver in the Roman Catholic Church because they wouldn't let us in the Knights of Columbus. Okay, so if you go check in the Roman Catholic Church, we were denied, the equality and access under the Christ, in the Roman Catholic Church. So we had to create our own infrastructure. And so
that's so.
Yeah. You go check the history of the Knights of Peter Claver. I mean, that's okay. All right. But we changed. But that's the change that a lot of other countries like Europe is going through. France right now and Britain, are going through what we went through in the 60s, only worse, because they now have religious, built into it that, and many people like Boko Haram and followers of Arab Islamic thought, do not want to integrate with Christianity or animalists or anything other. If Islam is not it, then, and there are many of their thoughts like the Palestinians, then you're dead. Okay, and if you, how dare you be anything other than Islam, right? Okay, and so they're going through all that. They're having to deal with that in Europe. But here in America, like I said, the president said in 2011 and updated for 2015 as part of the Universal Periodic Review, hey, we got problems here in America, but we got a process of change. Right. We are a government by, for, and of the people. But for us as African Americans, we didn't get those rights until 1965, because that's when the Voting Rights Act on August 6th, 1965 happened, that gave us that part of American citizenship called the vote, protected by law. Okay, we didn't get it in 1868. Ostensibly in 1868, when we became American citizens, our men had the right to vote. Remember, until 1922, women can't vote in this country. Yeah. Right? Okay, that's why a lot of our leaders were also not only abolitionists, but suffragettes. Okay, all right. So now you go in this, and you say, wow, 1965, that means 50 years. August 6th. So that's why you hear me saying why August 6th is very important to what we're talking about. Now, what we have, we started off, when did the boys come in?
About 2 months ago.
Okay. Was it 2 months ago? Was it?
It's been about 2 months
July,
now.
April.
I've been here May. I've been here 3 months, so they came about a month after that.
April.
Yeah.
The latter part of April. Because we had met with the ambassador from Africa, from Zimbabwe. Yep. Okay, we met with him on the 14th of April.
So about 2 Maybe it was mid-May that they came.
Yeah, I think it was May.
Mid-May,
Yeah,
and then they came just at the end of May again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what we're here today to talk about is FAU Sports. Now, FAU Sports, the whole plan with FAU Sports. I see those drugs just knocked the dog right on out. Okay.
The pizza comes. Can we just stop the broadcast?
Oh yeah, when the pizza comes, I don't want people seeing us chowing down.
The dogs upstairs are barking, so I'm wondering.
Okay. Well, won't they call you, or where's your phone? They'll call you.
So, my sister knows it's coming today.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So FAU Sports, okay, this is to be a briefing on a new international sports infrastructure for the 1.4 billion people of Africa called FAU Sports. Okay, Friends of the African Union Sports League. It's to include a global sports channel using United States Patent and Trademark Office patent number 5577042 here. All right. And we will come back to you.
We'll be right back.